because she needs to think about it.
Instead of run away from it.
Which, I don't know, the mall scene just sticks out a lot to me.
There's also the scene where Heather comes over and Melinda tells her no. So, this is after Melinda's finally starting to get better. This is when Melinda's finally realizing, hey, I need to cut all this poisonous stuff from my life so that I can cope and get better. And so, of course, Heather, as we've talked about before, has become manipulative because we think her view of friendship has become warped by the Marthas, who literally use people for their own personal gain. And Heather needs help because she's the only one who in the lower caste of the Marthas is left to decorate the for prom.
Because the Marthas make themselves seem so
high and mighty.
Yeah, so that like if you get into it, you should be like, what's the word?
Helpful.
No, like
assistive.
No, like proud. The Marthas make themselves feel so high and mighty, like you said, that that Heather should feel proud of herself for getting into the Marthas. That now she follows around like a drone. Whatever they tell her to do, she does, and so she is left. In this case, there's multiple cases, but in this case, she is left as the only person to decorate for the prom.
And Melinda's helped her out before, so she thinks, oh yeah, I'll go to Melinda, who's my friend, quote unquote. And so she goes into Melinda's house, and they're in her room, and they're eating cookies, and while Melinda is sitting there, Heather asks her if she'd be willing to help for the prom. And without even waiting for an answer, Heather already assumes that Melinda's saying, yeah, I'll help, when Melinda in actuality hasn't said a single thing. And it just really shows who Heather is. She assumes you'll do something before you even do it, before you even say that you'll do anything. And then right after she thinks that Melinda said yes, she's all like, I can see why you want to redecorate your room. It'd be depressing to wake up to this every morning. You gotta wash the windows, change the colors. And while she's in the middle of talking about this, Melinda's thinking to herself, and finally, in the middle of Heather's tirade about colors, and, what was it? The blinds, the window blinds. She's all like, Melinda says no, and Heather's all like, what, no, what? You don't like this color? And Melinda's like, no, I know what I want to do in my room, and I know I do not want eggplant purple. Also, I will not help you with the prom. And so Heather, of course, gets all affronted, her feathers are ruffled, and so she storms out without even thanking Melinda's mom, which also kind of shows who she is.
Oh, yeah. Because she immediately turns on Melinda.
She immediately becomes hostile. And so that goes to show she's one of those people that if you don't help them out immediately, then she most likely will assume that you're a hostile person and that you will never help her again. So Heather was a poisonous thing that Melinda cut out of her life.
Okay, do you want to go to the falling action now, or do you have anything else you can think of for the climax?
I cannot think of anything else for the climax, so we're going to falling action.
Okay, so getting better with her art. She finally decides that she doesn't want to do a sculpture. She wants to draw it, because wasn't there a scene where she's sitting, I think it was with David. Have we mentioned David at all? I don't think so.
No, we haven't. We haven't mentioned David as
So
yet.
David is sort of, I wouldn't say a love interest, but
he's like sort of a side possible friend character.
Yeah. Who is her? He's called David, my lab partner.
Study buddy.
Study buddy?
No, he's called David, my lab partner.
Yeah, and so throughout the entire book, and they eventually become friends. And I remember a part where she was sitting in class and she was pulling at her fingernail, and it falls back so far that it bleeds. And so David from behind her hands her a napkin, and she's like, oh yeah, and so she hands him a letter and says, thank you. He says, you're welcome. And then so she draws, I think it was a bird, and he draws tree branches underneath it, and they keep going back and forth, adding more branches.
Oh yeah, they were doing a collaborative art piece.
Which leads her to think, I think I want to draw this, and especially since she was feeling
down.
Yeah, and like, cause she was feeling like, oh, I kind of like David, and she was nervous, because they were both nervous, because I remember reading this part, she felt like, I make him nervous, because she was like, oh, does he like me, does he not, and so, you know, it was the whole thing, and they were also both feeling, you know, oh, hey, this is fun, we're doing this thing back and forth. You know, we're so rebellious drawing a tree in class.
Yeah, I think this wasn't this. No, this was during science. It
Yeah.
wasn't during Mr. Neck's class.
No, Mr. Neck's class would have been worse, because Mr. Neck is very strict. Is he the history teacher?
Yeah, he is. He's also the very rude one who decided to do a contradictory question.
Oh yeah. What was the question?
He was all like, "Do you think that immigrants have the right to steal jobs from my hardworking son?"
Oh.
And so, of course, this raised a debate, and people, once they realized what side Mr. Neck was on, they were all like, "Oh yeah." Of course, David Petrakis, who is David, my lab partner, was like the only one who said something different, and he was also the only one who stood up for it. And they went into a court case, and David won. But that's beside the point. David is definitely who you see a lot of in the later side of the book.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning part, she just kind of doesn't really notice him. It's like after the science project with the apples, I think.
Oh yeah. So we've got that. We kind of talked about Heather, how she said no to her. Okay, closet. Okay, so we've talked. Did we explain what the closet was in this?
We did
version?
not yet.
Okay, so at her school, there was one day where she had seen Andy Evans at a coffee shop before she headed to school, and so he kind of tries to talk to her, but she is like, you know, freaked out, and so she runs away. And she gets into school, and I can't remember if she's like being chased by, not really chased, but like she's trying to run away from someone for like being late to school or skipping part of class or something like that. And when she runs away, she finds a janitor's closet, which is
an old janitor's closet, which is not used anymore.
It's not used anymore. And so she goes in there, she hides, and she realizes, oh, no one uses this. And so she brings like blankets and books and all that kind of stuff from home. A chair.
She uses that Maya Angelou poster from the science teacher, I think.
And she puts all that in here so it can be her safe base for
mirror
school.
Too. Yeah, it's like a little safe room amidst the hostility of the people from school.
And just her world at that point. And so
it really helps her cope.
Her mental health is not good.
It's not deteriorating, but it's not improving. It's just kind of staying the same at this point.
Well, no, because there's specific quotes from, I don't know if I wrote any of them down. I can't remember. I don't think I did. But, like she says, at one point, maybe I'll be an artist if I grow up. And she continuously says things like...
She says things that imply, like, maybe
depression
suicide.
And she says things like, I swear I'm going crazy and that kind of stuff. And
so her mental health isn't looking good.
Which leads her to one thing that kind of... It's like a small conflict that keeps coming back, is that she can't get sleep at home. And so one night, there is a basketball game at the school, and she tells her parents, yeah, I'm going to stay at school because I want to watch the game this time, which is very out of her character, but her parents are just like, you know, fine.
She decided to give it a try, right? She told David she might...
Yeah, David was going. And so, but what ends up happening is her and her sleep-deprived self go in the closet, and she ends up passing out. And I have the quote, it says, I checked my watch, it's 8:45, I've been asleep for hours. It's really interesting, because most of the story she is trying to stay away from home, like when she went to the mall. She didn't, you know, I mean, of course, she couldn't have stayed home because
even
her
though no
parents
one else
don't know.
was at home.
Yeah. And she just wanted to, she's continuously just staying away from her home and wanting to just escape everything. And so the fact that she could just fall straight asleep for hours at her little safe closet is just really interesting. Okay, we have got, okay, that's good. Is there anything else you want to talk about for the folly action?
Not that I can know, aside from that, in this part of the book, the tree scene has already come up. Tree scene with her dad, and explaining how they need to cut off dead things in order to help assist them continue on in life. And so she's getting better, steadily getting better at this point.
Okay, so for the rest